There we go. Right there and here, which is my idea of like doing clapperboards. Why did that go off? But I can't believe I set that whole thing up, did the whole thing with the Penn Point, and then didn't start it with a snap. And this Penn Point is being brought to you by Squarespace. I think I've talked about this before, but I was talking about it the other day, so I want to talk about it again right here, because this seems important. 3 most underrated things in the world. I read once that the 3 most overrated things in the world were banjo music, teenage girls, and pickup trucks. And I agree with that completely, although I have grown very fond of banjo music. I mean, no, banjo music, yeah. There's some good banjo music. I was trying to think, which is the one that's shaped like this with strings on it? Is that Teenage Girl or banjo music? Anyway, I've gone fairly fond of banjo music. There's teenage girls from afar are terrific and very, very sexy. I just don't think you too often want to talk to them. And pickup trucks, I don't get at all. I just don't understand what's cool about them. But I think the 3 most underrated things in the world are the banjo music, pickup trucks, and teenage girls is, I think, standard. Like that's a cliche of some sort. But for me, the 3 most underrated things in the world. I think when Christopher Hitchens talks about overrated things, he also throws into that list caviar and anal sex, which I do not agree with Christopher Hitchens on that. But I agree with Christopher Hitchens on everything else, so please don't debate me, Christopher, because you will beat anybody anytime when you debate them. Man, Christopher Hitchens is smart. You know, when I go on, like if I ever find myself on Larry King or one of those shows, and another one of the guests is Christopher Hitchens, I listen to what he says very carefully, and I try to make sure that I find something to agree with, so that I don't get into opposite. I have been with Christopher Hitchens, and I don't think this is telling you anything he wouldn't want you to know. I've been with Christopher Hitchens on a panel at 10 a.m. A panel for a skeptics thing. And, you know, I'm on a panel, which is, you know, I'm a fucking juggler. And I'm on a panel with Christopher Hitchens and Richard Dawkins. And Christopher Hitchens at 10 a.m., I don't know anything about drinking. I don't know anything about drinking. But as far as I can tell, he's drunk off his ass. He's been drinking forever. His eyes have that, you know, that kind of roomy look to them. He's kind of, you know, he's been drinking espresso and drinking alcohol, and he is just so much faster, smarter, just smarter than me. I've never heard anybody come up with more complicated sentences off the top of his head. I mean, he comes up with these really beautifully constructed, perfect, complicated sentences. And this is from a man who couldn't tell the difference when speaking on his feet between a banjo and a teenage girl. So Christopher Hitchens adds to that caviar and anal sex as being overrated, which I do not agree with, and but I wouldn't argue with Christopher Hitchens over it, that's for sure. I think the 3 most underrated things in the world are French dressing, butterscotch pudding, and hand jobs. French dressing, butterscotch pudding, and hand jobs. And the reason they're underrated, they don't really mean underrated. They just mean we don't get them enough. And the reason is, if you can have French dressing, you can usually have blue cheese dressing. You can usually have Thousand Islands dressing. So you'll choose one of those over French. But French is there, and it's good, and it's right there for you, but you're choosing something else. It's a fabulous second choice, so it's constantly underrated. Butterscotch pudding, exactly the same thing. If there's butterscotch pudding, there's often chocolate pudding. Hey, Penn, you want some pudding? Sure. What kind? Chocolate. But if I had said butterscotch, it would have been really good. And the other thing is hand jobs. I sometimes go on the web and search for sexy hand jobs. Because if you're going to get a hand job, you can always get a blowjob. I mean, we're adults, we're Americans. There's nobody, or very rarely, a person that's going to give you a hand job that wouldn't give you a blowjob. I mean, you know, why? Why bother? But they're good. They're really, really good because people are better with their hands than they are with their mouths. That's why when someone fixes your computer, they're not going, They use their hands. You're more dexterous with your hands. So that's why I believe French dressing, butterscotch pudding, and hand jobs are the three most underrated things in the world. And I'm going to talk to my wife, and maybe those are three things I'll celebrate tonight. French dressing, butterscotch pudding, and hand jobs. And this was brought to you by Squarespace. And I want to tell you about this Squarespace. You know, we have Penn and Teller website, and the Penn and Teller website costs like $1 zillion fucking dollars a month to have maintained, because we started it forever ago, and we still have the same people, and all of us are too embarrassed to tell them that they charge too much and that we could do it ourselves easily. We could do it ourselves with Squarespace. It's a publishing system for anyone looking to build a blog, portfolio, or any kind of website. You could do Penn Point with Squarespace. To put it in layman's terms, Squarespace is a tool that would allow you, your mom, I mean anyone really, your grandmother, to build a website that has the same functions found on some of the coolest whiz-bang pages on the web. If you already have a site, want to make it easier to use, no problem. Their newly launched Site Importer tool makes it extremely easy to move sites from other environments into Squarespace. They even have a ton of new social widgets, so no one will forget about your Twitter, okay? So this Squarespace thing is cool. As a Penn Point viewer, you can use the code PENN to get 10% off the life of your order. Go to squarespace.com to get started and tell them Penn sent you. Why didn't I choose to depict Muhammad having sex? There's a thing where she had sex with God